update the rule book as they see fit. But that has its own problems. Yeah, so but the idea being that we're going to actually, we need a system that will allow our ethical innovation to keep up with our technological innovation. And a religious approach is just too dogmatic, and it's not pragmatic enough, and it retards the necessary innovation. Okay, so now I'm going to talk a bit. I'm going to get to my subtitle now, and I'm going to talk about the specific types. I think there's actually 3 sort of categories of ethical problems I foresee in the 21st century that are going to make the 21st century somewhat unique. So the first thing is the exponential increasing rate of technological innovation. So we've seen these societal changing technologies have, we can actually see it in our lifetime now, where you know, the rate of societal, like these technologies that change the world has increased dramatically. Before, you know, you can, like in the last, if you go back to before 1500 CE, you know, you can count and to 0 CE, you can count the technological changes that really changed the world on your hand. But if you, on your hands, maybe you might need to get your toes. But if you go past 1580, then you see, and you maybe go up to 1800, then you can see that there's like the same number of technological, like world changes occurred. And then if you go, it's right, 1800 CE to the new millennium, then you can see that this rate has just continually increased. And now, within my lifetime, and I think I'm still a little below the mean here, hopefully. You know, I've seen dramatic changes in our society. I think the idea, at least, of mobile phones and the internet have just changed the way that we interact with each other, and the whole social structures, and things like transcontinental flight changed the way we socialize with each other, and the idea that we have fresh vegetables in December, fresh vegetables and fruits in December in Ottawa was pretty neat. There's these things that just didn't occur before. So another the second point here is man's global dominion. This is something else I want to talk about. And the anachronism is intentional. I want to put man's global dominion because I'm saying that our morals in this situation, and the moral theory that we're applying to our global dominion is antiquated and needs to be updated. And finally, I want to talk specifically about what my research was on, and that's artificial intelligent agents integrating into our ethical communities. So I think this is a very important issue, and not just because I studied it. That might be a little myopic, but I think it's going to be hugely relevant, especially in the next, like, just to throw a number of 30, 40 years. It's going to be, it's going to sort of really stick out that this is something we have to pay close attention to. Okay, so, Kurzweil, yeah. My exponential curve there, right? So the idea of the rate of change just keeps on going. You can see that the curve starts out slow and then starts going up that way. So there's lots of accelerating change, and that was talking a little bit about that, is a fairly established phenomena, and you can see there's lots of these examples of this occurrence of this exponential rate of change growth, like this system where things used to change very slowly, and now as civilization moves forward, things change at a much faster rate. So and I can't talk about accelerating change without mentioning the name Raymond Kurzweil. who he has a singularity theory, and he points he's a very influential both inventor and future projectionist. So he's not someone to take lightly. And he points to all these curves and says, look, that there's a convergence. If we look at like the 2020 to 2050 range, all these curves start to go asymptotic to the y, right? We reach this this point where there's this singularity where the rate of change just can't go any faster. And once we do that, we have this infinite technological change, and he calls this the singularity, where all these fantastic technologies will be available to us in a way that we just can't absorb or comprehend. He sees it as this utopia. Other people will see it as the end of the world. We'll see what's right. But the problem here is, and this is where I sort of, I haven't really established this in this talk. So you're gonna have, so you can see it's sort of a chink marrow. But I do believe with some conviction that this gap between that technological change necessitates ethical change, and so there's a very big danger that if we don't have our ethical changes, our ethical systems as versatile as our ethical innovation, as versatile as our technological innovation, that this gap will suddenly increase, and we'll have an ethical disaster of sorts. And that may actually be the difference between Kurzweil's paradise and the apocalypse, right? It's how do we cope morally with how do we develop a moral system? How fast can we develop a moral system to compensate for infinite technological change? So maybe one possible solution is if we take this approach, this problem space approach, and we treat ethics as a technology and an area where we need this kind of innovation. And if we start focusing on that way instead of looking at it as and we abandon this sort of idea of these dogmatic moral tools, and instead look at, like, we have to have what worked in the past. If we accept that what worked in the past isn't necessarily going to work in the future, we have to come up with the best possible moral system we can, because we're going to be dealing with these big problems. And if we see it that way, that might be one possible solution, or at least it might be the beginning of a solution. Okay, so talking then about second point, man's global dominion. So this is something entirely new in our history, and it started to occur in the 20th century. And before, we could go around the planet and do as we will, and the world was so grand and so huge that we didn't really have to worry. We could be concerned with our own minor affairs, and we didn't have to concern ourselves with the affairs of the planet. Like they could take care of themselves, really, with whatever abuse we could dish out. The planet could take it, but it's not the case anymore. We really we passed the threshold. We're now what our actions have, and we can see it, and there's many different indicators of this. Mass extinctions, climate change, that the rules of the game have changed. We no longer have this luxury where we can expect to do as we will, and the world will recover. And what I think is really scary about this is